Good evening. Welcome to Focus on Education. I'm Angie Agle, and I have as my guests City Council Member Jim Dodson and Christopher Scott, who's the coach of the Oak Ridge Wildbots. And tonight we want to talk about the Secret City Festival, some different things that we're going to be doing, and something exciting and new, which is a robotics invitational tournament. So gentlemen, Jim, do you want to tell us first, what is new with the Secret City Festival this year?
Well, I'll begin by talking to you about the duration of this. The traditional Secret City Festival has been a couple of days. It's been a Friday and a Saturday. And we've extended that for the week prior to that. So we have several events leading up to the Secret City Festival itself. I'll mention a few of those. On Tuesday evening, we will have an interfaith, if you will. It will be a production that we will have on the pavilion stage in Bissell Park. We're going to be providing that working with a lot of the churches in our community. Wednesday evening, what we're going to do is we're actually going to be up on the Blankenship Field. This will be the last event that they have on Blankenship Field, where we're going to have a outdoor movie night. We're actually working with Oak Ridge High School's booster club, football booster club. On Thursday, what we're going to do is we're going to have a battle of the bands. So we're going to work with the Youth Advisory Board and the United Way of Anderson County. And those two organizations are getting together, and we're going to have a youth night, so we're going to have a lot of the bands locally. We probably have about 20 bands perform that evening. And then our traditional Friday and Saturday, we've already have our big name band, Little River Band, who will be performing that Friday night. And then leading into Saturday, we're still looking at trying to secure our band for Saturday evening. We're looking at, on Saturday, possibly having a Veterans and Boy Scouts parade to kick that Saturday event off. So those are some really cool things that we're going to be doing this year with the Secret City Festival. We're still planning that. We've got a great team that's working on that. Celebrate Oak Ridge is the nonprofit organization, the 501c3 organization that has been planning that and other events in our community.
Well, who all is on the committee that's doing the planning? I know that this is something that there has been some change in recent years in how it's managed and who lines everything up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Angie, I'm going to look down at my crib sheet here. I know most of them, but I don't want to leave out anybody because these folks have done an excellent job. A lot of hard work went into this. So I think everybody knows Ray Smith. Ray Smith is our Oak Ridge historian, and he's our vice chair. We're still looking for a chair, but he's our vice chair. He organizes this, and he has us as far as meeting on a regular basis. We meet twice a month, the second and the last Tuesday of the month. And we've been planning this festival for probably over a year now. Another person, David Mosby, a lot of you might know David as a former city council member. He is our finance person. He's keeping our books straight. He's doing an excellent job with that. Jana Martin, she's familiar to a lot of you. She's actually working on our sponsorship committee. And they've gone out and secured a lot of donations for this festival. We're doing really well, but we'd like to encourage more people to be a part of this. One of the great ideas Jana had in the very beginning was, let's look at the 75th anniversary of Oak Ridge. So we have different sponsorship levels, $75, $750, $7,500, and $75,000. So we have several of those $75,000 sponsors at this point. The City of Oak Ridge is one. They were our first. The next is Rogers Group, and CNS is probably going to be one of those as well. Megan O'Neill, we're bringing back the ever popular children's events, and she's going to be working with a lot of that, bounce houses and things to that effect. Judy Gray, she's working on our vendors. Naomi Asher with United Way, she's doing our social media and our website. Sue Ann Lewis, she's our secretary, and she's working on a lot of the design. Matt Bailey's doing merchandise. Lydia Burke, she's organizing our volunteers, because you can't make something like this happen unless you have a good volunteer structure. And we have some liaisons. Mark DeRose with Explore Oak Ridge with the CVB. He's working on marketing. John Hetrick with the Parks and Rec. He is working on our logistics, making sure everything works in the location that we're going to have. And I'm the liaison to the City Council. And Leah Markham-Esty, she's bringing back Tennessee Creates, which is always popular. So that's our Celebrate Oak Ridge board.
Well, and one of the new things this year is there's more of a focus, rather than looking back to history, more of a focus on what's new and particularly the technologies that are developed in Oak Ridge, that are furthered in Oak Ridge. So one of the things that's being added is the Oak Ridge High School robotics team, Secret City Wildbots, is going to host an invitational robotics tournament. And as our Wildbots coach, Mr. Scott, can tell us a little more about what is the difference between an invitational and a regional. Some of us are familiar with the Smoky Mountain Regional coming up in a couple of weeks, but we've never done an invitational here. So can you give us a little bit of what the differences are and what to expect?
Yeah, and we haven't had one, not of this nature anyway. FRC, or the First Robotics, especially the team here that the high school has, is their top level of robot competition. Robots can vary, in size, speed, but most competitive teams, which we are completely custom manufactured. The regional events are international in nature. We competed in an event, I guess last weekend, and I think there were several European teams, teams from all over the United States, but the regional events occur throughout the globe, Asia, Australia, Europe, Africa, and then teams from those regional events qualify for the World Championships.
And that's in April.
And that's in April of this year. So an invitational is an off-season event. So once the World Championships have concluded, then there are lots of different invitationals or off-season events throughout the country, throughout the world. And they're a fantastic opportunity for so many teams. The cost involved in going to a regional is pretty expensive. It's $5,000 that teams have to raise. Many teams are able to go to a single regional event, and if they don't win that event, then it's the last event of the season. You either qualify for the World Championships or you don't. So to put so much effort and time and energy into building a robot and have it compete only one time is kind of tough. So there are lots of off-season events. Having one here in East Tennessee is just a really good opportunity for us to, one, expand STEM, throughout our region, to encourage the cooperation of the other robotic teams that are at high schools throughout East Tennessee and throughout the southeastern United States. One of the focuses we want to do with the Secret City Invitational is have it be a kind of a southeastern tournament. Our vision is to have it be the best of the South, where robots are coming from Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky to East Tennessee, participate in the Secret City Festival, and have a really great robotics tournament.
Well, and that's really what's exciting about this, is given the new focus of the Secret City Festival is more forward-looking toward the technology, and then bringing in this invitational fits with that technology theme, but it also, we hope, will bring in a lot of people from out of town who may not be familiar with Oak Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
We can show off our fabulous new high school. We can show off our STEM program, for which we will have a ceremony this Friday, in fact. And it gives in the evening an opportunity for all the students who come to this tournament, instead of just going and grabbing fast food and crashing, oh, by the way, there's a concert you can go to. There's a Battle of the Bands tonight. There's all this fun stuff to do, and go interact with some of the high technology companies that will be exhibiting their products at the festival just across the street. So that, to me, is very exciting, that we can bring these two big events together, with the Secret City Festival providing more excitement for the tournament, and the tournament bringing out-of-town people in to enjoy the festival. So it does seem to be mutually beneficial to team up. And after a few years of maybe some struggles, it's exciting to be part of something where the city and the schools are collaborating to do something really good. and I think both sides enjoying it.
You know, and above other things, the robot tournament itself, the competition, is very entertaining. So even, you know, festival goers who haven't ever seen anything like that before, maybe they saw BattleBots on TV. So there's a little less fire and a little less chainsaws involved than what the TV version has, but the atmosphere is a lot like a football game, you know, and it's pretty easy to follow, and it's fast-paced, and it's amazing to see the robots that high schoolers are completely designing and building, you know, and our robot is entirely done that way, you know, so hopefully it'll bring some individuals who maybe haven't seen robots before come in and check it out, you know.
Well, at this point, we need to take a quick break, but we'll be right back to talk some more about this. Welcome back to Focus on Education. I have with me tonight Jim Dodson, member of City Council, and Christopher Scott, the Oak Ridge Wildbots coach. And we've been talking about the Secret City Festival this year, as well as the Secret City Invitational Robotics Tournament that will be held on the same weekend. And we're trying to arrange it so that the robotics events end at the end of the day, so that the visitors who come in for this tournament have an opportunity to go across the street and enjoy our Secret City Festival, the concerts, the food, the vendors, the art, and something new this year will be the Technology Village. Do you want to tell us a little about that?
Well, some of the things that you'll see in the Technology Village, if you will, the exhibitions, we were working with Remotech. It's a local organization, and they may have a robot demonstration during the Technology Village. We're working with Jacobs and possibly bringing in a drone, flying that around. So that's always fun. Cinemark actually has some new theater chairs. I don't know if you've seen these. They recline. They have feet rest. They're going to bring some of those in. Ucor, they have a glove box and hazmat suits where you can handle different toxic materials and things like that. So we're going to probably bring that in. I'd love to bring in some of the things that Robertsville Middle School is doing with the NASA CubeSat project. And I know, Angie, I know you know a lot about that. And then also Local Motors has committed to bringing in some of their 3D printed cars. So that's the tip of the iceberg. One of the things we want to do is expand on that. We want to have so many things going on in that Technology Village that you're going to learn a lot about Oak Ridge. And Oak Ridge is that town of towns that, you know, you have all these things that are going on at the lab and DOE, and we have that ability to bring some of those things in. And we'd also like to provide some opportunities for these students who are coming in for this robotics competition to maybe go out and take some tours of our facilities around us. Oak Ridge is very unique with that respect. So if you wanted to address the CubeSat program, because they just recently got some great recognition on that.
They did. They actually were selected as one of the 2 schools that will send it's a little 10 by 20 centimeter cube satellite that our students actually 3D print themselves. And the purpose of this one will be to collect data on the regrowing of forest in the Smokies following the wildfire. So it has a lot of regional impact just for that, but a lot of national impact that middle school students can build this little teeny tiny satellite to provide real useful data. There are a number of mentors from Oak Ridge National Laboratory who've been working with the kids on this project, and the teacher, Todd Livesey, is phenomenal. You can't imagine what it's like to go in and see a middle school student, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, running a 3D printer and printing something they have designed in CAD, which is software that a lot of college students have never put their hands on. And they're learning in this process why what they're learning in science matters, why what they're learning in math matters. All of the subjects that they have during the day feed into being needed to produce this thing that they're excited about. And when a child learns why what they're learning in the classroom is important, they soak it up so much faster. It just sinks in. So yes, I am hopeful that the CubeSat can be, or at least their progress to date, can be on display. It's my understanding that it won't actually launch until 2021 or 2, but they're in the process of building it. They've got their prototypes, and it's a very cool project.
And Angie, I don't want to jump the gun on this, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, next Tuesday we're going to have a sponsors recognition luncheon on the 12th, maybe. And we're looking at, instead of going out and purchasing the recognition plaques, having those 3D printed. Am I correct?
I do not know if the answer has been found on that one yet,
Okay.
but I do know that that was one of the things under consideration is actually having the plaques created by students either at the high school or at the middle school.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Chris, what should we expect for this invitational? Will it be the same game as they're playing in the regionals this year? So if someone is interested, they can go to usfirst.org and actually see video of the game and explanation of the rules?
Yeah, so inside of each calendar year, and that's a good way of thinking since we typically think in school years, but there's a new game, and the off-season events use the exact same game format as the World Championships and any regional events, so you can use the same robot. So something that teams build in January and February can still be used for a competition in November. And so it will be the same. This year's game is called Power Up, and it has a 1980s pixelated video game theme, which for some of the adults and the coaches and mentors, we remember quite well. The kids look at it very nostalgically and poke fun at the things that we could have possibly had fun playing. But so the robots have to manipulate cubes, which are essentially a milk crate covered with a slick nylon. And those cubes have to be placed into different containers, scales and switches inside of the field itself. And to see how to design a robot to do that is pretty cool. Some of the good websites to look at just to see what competition looks like so far this year, Blue Alliance is a good website, and so is Delphi. Frequently we have a lot of video of competitions that have occurred throughout the country already, and throughout the world for that matter. So if somebody was curious to see kind of what's this game all about, what's it look like live action, fantastic place to go and check it out. And of course, the First Robotics official website will have all of the information for FRC, but also for FTC and FLL, which Oak Ridge also has teams in those divisions, which are for slightly younger students.
Well, and I think that we had talked some about trying to bring in some of the FTC and FLL teams to exhibit in the Technology Village.
And we're in the works of doing that right now. Both, or I shouldn't say both, all three of the Jefferson Middle School First Lego League robotics teams are interested in hosting a sumo bot competition in the Technology Village. And sumo bots are essentially small robots that middle schoolers build. They have to program them, and then they try to push each other outside of a sumo ring, essentially. And it's amazing to see what they build. And you'd think you were at a football game a lot of times with the cheering going on about whose bot's going to push who's out, and it's pretty amazing.
Well, do you have anything else to add?
Well, first and foremost, I'm really glad to have the robotics competition come into Oak Ridge. I think this is a first step of many of these, and I love the fact that it's associated with the Secret City Festival. I think the two will feed off each other, and I like the word synergy. I think there's going to be a lot of synergy that you'll see during this event. You had mentioned earlier these students and their families can go to the Secret City Festival. The bands will be performing. One of the things we mentioned the other night, we were at our planning meeting, and I think, if we're not mistaken, we're going to have upwards to 20 to 25 teams that would be participating in this. And if you're bringing your entourage, that means your family with you, more than likely you'll have about 450-ish visitors to our town. And one of the things we've struggled with for a long time with the Secret City Festival was we don't want people just to come in for the day and leave. We want them to stay and enjoy some of the things that Oak Ridge has to offer. And this gives us an opportunity to bring people in. It's that heads and beds thing. They probably will stay here with their family, be able to see some of the things that we have in our town, go to our restaurants. The tax base it'll help us as far as our city. But we want to make this the first of many. And Oak Ridge is uniquely qualified with everything that they have in our city and around our city to make this happen. So we're all excited about this with the Secret City Festival.
Well, and it's my understanding that the other invitational events are just focused on the robotics tournament. And so at the end of the day, the kids just go grab some fast food and go to bed.
Yeah.
This one, tying it into the festival, I hope will make it much more fun. I hope it will result in some families who come from out of town or out of state to stay longer, maybe explore our waterfront and some of the water sports that we have, some of our hiking trails. There's so much to do in East Tennessee that we're right in the middle of.
Right.
Yeah.
And to bring in those folks, for whatever reason they're coming in, robotics tournament, company stuff, whatever, but to bring them in and show them a really good time could really be good for the city and the schools.
You might even have some people who want to relocate to our town because of that. So I'm looking at a future with this, not just this year, but hopefully for years to come.
And it will be, it will be a unique tournament, because again, most off-season events are typically held at a high school in isolation. You get done at the tournament, you go to bed. So hopefully it makes it a very appealing event, for teams to travel further and further to get to. And when we look at pairing it with a couple of other tournaments that we have partnerships with, one in Kentucky and then the Robo Rodeo with the Tennessee Valley Fair, makes a lot of possibilities for us locally, and we're certainly we're working toward that. It should be exciting.
Well, thank you both for sharing your expertise and your enthusiasm. I know this is a very exciting project, and I'm looking forward to it. We would love to have volunteers to help. This is both the Secret City Festival and the Robotics Invitational is going to take a lot of volunteers to pull off and make it happen. But it's going to be fun to be part of. And that will do it for us tonight. Thank you very much.